Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drawing with Mr. Sepulveda. I'm Mr. Sepulveda, and on today's episode, I'm going to be turning Pokemon into Kaijus. That's right, Kaijus. My wife and I have been watching a lot of Godzilla movies lately, and King Kong, and so since I was already doing my Pokedex drawing challenge, where I take the original 151 Pokemon and start drawing them, I decided to turn some of them into Kaijus. And so for this episode, I'm going to be turning Mr. Mime into a Kaiju, Magmar, and Scyther. Okay? And if this video does really well, I would love for you guys to suggest other Pokemon outside of the 151 Pokemon to turn into Kaijus, okay? So let's kind of go into this. Let's dive deep. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my process and my thoughts as I was going through these. I'll tell you guys about the good, the bad, and the ugly as we go throughout, okay? So without further ado, here we go. Let's talk about Mr. Mime as a Kaiju. So the first thing I thought of when I was thinking about Kaijus is they have to be ginormous, right? And they have to be either like towering some buildings or be about the size of a building or so, right? In my mind, I'm thinking of like some of the little miniature titans from Godzilla and how some of them are just a little bit smaller than some of the buildings. And then there's like maybe Godzilla that might be close to one of those tall buildings, not necessarily skyscraper size, but kind of close enough so that you can kind of get an idea of how big they are. And so for this one and for all the Kaiju episodes, I'm going to be trying to work on backgrounds. And the backgrounds in this episode, I think, are all right. They're not great. I feel like I need to render them out and flush them out a little bit more, similar to like my character designs. I think I do a really good job with character designing and not necessarily with background work. And so doing these Kaiju episodes will give me a nice opportunity to kind of work on that weakness in particular, right? Some of the things that came out good, I think, were some of the design choices that I made. With Magmar, with Mr. Mime, I really wanted him to be a creepy clown, right? Or a creepy mime, I guess, is really what he is. So I just needed to up the creep factor, and I think looking at his face and looking at the way that I kind of drew him out, I think I really hit the mark with that. And when I put the textures in, when I render it fully, I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because my rendering style's come a long way, and I'm really proud of it, and I think it really makes my art pop even more than it used to. As you guys can see, the backgrounds is what I'm working on here with the windows and trying to give it a little bit of a glare and trying to give it some depth and stuff like that. And I don't know if I necessarily hit the mark on that as well as I hit the mark on turning Mr. Mime into a Kaiju. You can kind of see me messing around with textures here. Overall, I think he was really great to work with. I had a lot of fun with Mr. Mime. And I think the depth that I got and some of the rendering choices that I made for this piece really solidify him as one of my top favorite art pieces that I've made. And if you guys watched that episode of my top 23 of 2023, you guys know that Mr. Mime kind of shows up in that video. And if you haven't given that a shot to look at, I'm going to leave it right here in the card for you, so you guys can go ahead and give those awesome, amazing art pieces a good look, all right? So here we go. Here's the end of this drawing. Here's Mr. Mime as a Kaiju. All right, so Magmar's up next, and Magmar's actually the last drawing I did in this batch, but I am moving him to the second position in this video because I think he's really good. I just don't think he's great for the end of this video, and I'll tell you why. I mentioned it and alluded to it earlier that my backgrounds are probably my weakest point, I believe, when it comes to all of these drawings. But I really do believe that my Magmar drawing, with just the background alone, like the building he's hugging and some of the elements you're going to see behind it, are where I believe I struggled. I should have gone with my original idea, and you can kind of see it there. I was originally going to go with multiple buildings in the background, and I think I should have stuck with that choice, but instead I just decided on the one building in the center of this entire panel, and I think it really does take away from Magmar. But when I was designing Magmar, my decision to try to turn him almost dragon-like and stretch out his body and stretch out the tail almost as though he was like a Charizard in a sense. I think I did a really good job there. And then choosing some of the textured elements I thought was great. I think some of the lacking besides the background would be the flames. I think the flames could have been a lot better. I could have designed them better. I did spend a good amount of time on them trying to figure them out, but ultimately I don't think I hit the mark when it comes to the fire. But I think Magmar's textures look great, and I'll have you guys drop a comment down below and let me know how well this Magmar drawing came out. Am I just being too hard on myself? Am I justified in my thinking? Let me know down below. All right, and here's the final drawing. This was drawing number 2 for me originally. And I'm going to tell you, with the sketch that I put out there, I really should have stuck with it because I think the angle would have done really nice for this drawing. But ultimately, with my Scyther drawing, I love the drawing. I love the way the textures came out, especially in the face and in the sights that Scyther has. The downside to this is the way that I drew him. So, like, for instance, if I'm looking at him right now, he looks like he's flying, but I end up putting his legs solidly down on the ground, which makes him have this bent kind of effect. And that I don't necessarily like about my Scyther drawing here. I really should have either had his legs bent or one up, or really just stuck with the flying aspect and maybe just kind of had him flying over the city or something along those lines. So I think that's probably one of my biggest misses on this drawing. But as far as the drawing goes itself, with the way that I drew him, I love it. I think I drew him really well outside of like the lower half of his body. When the textures come in, I think you guys will definitely see it. When we see the buildings in the background, I think they were a little too bright. I think I could have dulled it down. I think mood is one of the things that I could have expressed a little bit more of in this drawing. I could have used darker tones. I could have, instead of using a brighter blue background like in the skyline, I could have set it a little bit worse. Like a little bit darker, right? Maybe some purples or some reds or something like that, just to kind of make Scyther poke out a little bit more. In my original sketch design, I had rubble on the ground, but it actually does not end up in the final product. And I'm not entirely sure why I did that or made that decision. I honestly can't remember. But I think, again, Scyther looks great the way he is. He's one of my favorite Pokemon. I don't know if he's one of your favorite Pokemon. If he is, please just leave this video a like so I know. Or just comment down below the name Scyther. And that way I'll know that Scyther was like your absolute favorite. And it kind of works for this. And I kind of imagine, like, what would Scizor look like as a kaiju? If I've already got Scyther here, it might be kind of fun to play on and just kind of see what that looks like. Or maybe even like a Mega Evolved Pokemon and see what they look like as kaijus. Not entirely sure. I got to see if this video gets traction before we kind of commit to doing more kaiju episodes. Or if maybe Pokemon as kaiju is not your thing, maybe try something else like Digimon or some other franchise, maybe anime characters as kaijus or something. I don't know. I'll take any suggestions that you guys might have down below for future videos as well. But yeah, I had fun. The textures and the wings look cool. The textures and the sides are probably my favorite. But ultimately, I think this was a good process. I think it was a good way for me to kind of do a little bit more monster art and experimentation at the same time. And of course, like, this is only my first video with kaijus. If I end up going like 10 videos deep, chances are video 10 is gonna really explode and really show that I really came far, I guess. And it'll probably blow this entire episode out of the water. But for what it is right at this point in time, and for what it is right now, and with my drawing abilities, I'm pretty happy. I really can't complain too much outside of I'm going to have to practice doing landscapes more. And so in future episodes, you might see me just messing around with perspective drawings and messing around with buildings and landscapes. And so that might kind of help you guys out, help me out at the same time, just kind of refresh myself when it comes to these things. So here's Scyther as a kaiju. Alright guys, if you like this video, please leave it a like. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. We're really close to our first 1,000 subscribers. And if you guys have any suggestions about Pokemon that I should use for future Kaiju episodes, please leave those in the comments down below. Or if I should turn something else from another franchise into Kaijus, please leave those suggestions as well. And while you're at it, if you have any other video ideas that you would like to see me do on this channel, please leave those in the comments down below, okay? And I'll see you guys next Tuesday for a regularly scheduled video. You guys all have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.